Have you ever wondered why a single comment from someone can ruin your entire day? Do you feel exhausted living under the weight of others' expectations, even when your heart longs for something different? And did you know, real confidence doesn't come from applause, but from something far deeper within you? If you've ever found yourself trapped in the endless chase for approval, this might be the moment to pause and begin the journey of reclaiming your inner peace. First, remind yourself of this powerful truth. You are the only one who truly knows your worth, not your boss, not your friends, not the strangers online. Just you. You live with your own thoughts, your own soul, your inner battles, and no one else has that access. The moment you begin to believe in your value, something remarkable happens. People begin to reflect that belief right back to you. The world mirrors what you project. If you carry yourself with quiet confidence, people instinctively treat you with respect. But if you constantly doubt yourself, always scanning the room for approval, people sense that too, and react accordingly. Now remember this: confidence isn't about never falling, never being rejected, or never messing up. It's about knowing that even if you do, you'll be okay. When you trust yourself to handle anything that comes, you stop fearing everything. And when fear no longer drives you, no one and nothing can disturb your peace. Most people live their entire lives unconsciously seeking approval. They dress a certain way, speak in a certain tone, act with certain filters, all driven by a quiet fear of judgment. But here's the problem: when your happiness depends on someone else's opinion, you give away your emotional power. If they praise you, you feel good. If they criticize, you crumble. If they ignore you, you start questioning yourself. It's a fragile way to live, because your peace becomes tied to someone else's mood, perception, or insecurity. The truth: what people think of you has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with them. People see you not as you are, but as they are. One person may think you're incredible, while another sees you as unremarkable. One may admire you, another may resent you. Who's right? Neither. Opinions aren't facts, they're reflections. When you deeply grasp this, you stop giving opinions so much weight. From a young age, we're trained to chase stars, grades, praise, but at some point, you must wake up to the trap. Living for approval is a losing game. No matter how kind, brilliant, or thoughtful you are, someone will always find a reason to disapprove. So why waste time trying? Why base your self-worth on something so inconsistent and unreliable? The moment you stop chasing approval, everything shifts. You begin to choose based on what you want, not what might impress someone else. You stop overanalyzing your every move. You stop walking on eggshells, afraid of ruffling feathers. Ironically, that's when people respect you most, when they see that you don't need their validation to feel whole. Confidence is magnetic. The more secure you are within yourself, the more others are drawn to your energy. Does that mean you should ignore all feedback? Not at all. Growth comes from learning. But there's a world of difference between embracing helpful insight and being enslaved by praise. One frees you, the other traps you. The key is knowing what to let in. If it helps you grow, take it in. If it's just noise, let it go. And here's the real power in letting go of external validation. You become immune to manipulation. When people can no longer use guilt, pressure, or fear of judgment to control you, you become emotionally untouchable. You no longer dread rejection. You no longer need to prove anything. And that, my friend, is true freedom. At the end of the day, this life is yours, not your parents', not your friends', not society's, just yours. So the question is, will you live it for yourself? or keep living for the approval of people who might not even remember your name tomorrow? And once you answer that, truly answer that, nothing and no one will ever bother you again. But what happens next, once you let go of the need for approval? The answer lies in the power of your perspective and how it can transform the way you experience life itself. Previously, we explored how letting go of external validation can free you from the exhausting trap of constantly seeking approval. But what happens after that freedom begins to take root? Perspective is everything. Two people can go through the exact same experience, yet one walks away angry and frustrated, while the other stays calm, unaffected. Why? Because one of them knows how to shift their perspective. The ability to choose how you interpret a situation is one of the most powerful inner tools you possess. It can transform stress into a personal challenge, frustration into a chance to grow, and even offense into nothing but background noise. Yet, most people don't realize they have this power. They think emotions just happen to them. Someone is rude, they get angry. Something doesn't go as planned, they get upset. But the truth is, it's not the event that triggers the feeling, it's how we perceive it, and that's something you can change. Take criticism, for example. When someone throws a negative comment your way, your instinct might be to feel hurt or defend yourself. But what if, instead, you chose to step back? What if you looked at it not as a personal attack, but simply as data, either useful feedback you can grow from, or empty noise that says more about them than it does about you? Seen that way, criticism loses its power. The same shift applies to difficult people. We all encounter them, those who are rude, negative, or just plain annoying. But what if you began to see them differently? What if you viewed them as tests of your patience, practice rounds for your emotional strength? Suddenly, these people go from being energy drainers to unexpected teachers. Here's something to ponder. How often do we let small things consume us? A passive-aggressive comment, a minor inconvenience, an embarrassing moment. We allow them to hijack our mood, drain our energy, and sometimes even ruin our day. But ask yourself, will any of that still matter a year from now? If the answer is no, then why allow it to steal your peace today? When you learn to zoom out, to take in the broader view, you realize how temporary and insignificant most triggers really are. It's common to believe that others are responsible for our emotions. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you say they made you mad. A coworker says something disrespectful, and suddenly your whole day feels ruined. But the truth is, no one can make you feel anything unless you give them that power. Once you truly understand that, you become untouchable. Think about it. Have you ever seen two people respond to the same situation in completely different ways? One shrugs it off, while the other stews over it for hours. The difference isn't in the situation, it's in how they processed it. That's the secret. How you respond to life is always your choice. When you get angry, it's not simply because of what was said or done, it's because you allowed it to get to you. Some might say, but I can't help it. I just explode when someone disrespects me. That's not entirely true. You've simply built a habit of reacting that way. And like any habit, it can be changed. Imagine if instead of instantly reacting, you paused for just a second. That small moment creates space. Space to breathe, space to choose, and most importantly, space to ask, is this even worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Let's put it in perspective. Suppose someone walks up to you and hands you a gift, but you refuse to take it. Who does the gift belong to? Still them, right? It's the same with emotional gifts, like insults or anger. You don't have to accept them. You don't have to carry what was never yours. So if you can learn to pause, shift your perspective, and remember that you're always in control of how you respond, nothing and no one can truly get to you. Now, what if that same logic could be applied to negativity itself, and not just individual moments? That's exactly where we're heading next. Let's take that one step further. Just like you can refuse a gift that doesn't serve you, you can do the same with negativity. When someone throws anger, judgment, or insults your way, you don't have to take them. You can leave those things with the person who offered them. That's their emotional baggage, not yours. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean you allow others to mistreat you. It doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect or pretend everything is okay when it's not. It simply means that you choose not to let other people's behavior control your internal state. If someone tries to offend you and fails, who really loses? They do, because their goal was to rattle your peace, and they didn't succeed. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who command true respect. Are they the ones who lash out at every insult, or are they the ones who remain calm, steady, and unshaken? True strength isn't in raising your voice, it's in staying grounded. It's in controlling your emotions, instead of letting your emotions control you. Here's where things get even more powerful. When you stop reacting to negativity, the people who once sought to provoke you lose their grip. The coworker who thrives on pushing your buttons. Once they see you don't care, they stop trying. The person who criticizes you just to feel better about themselves. Their words fall flat when they realize they have no effect. Why does this happen? Because people only have as much power over you as you allow them to. It's the same reason you don't argue with a toddler throwing a tantrum. You recognize that their reaction says more about them than it does about you. Now, imagine applying that same mindset to adults. What if, instead of getting offended, you saw their negativity as a projection of their pain, their insecurity, their unmet needs? Suddenly, the energy you would have wasted on defending yourself becomes energy you preserve for growth, peace, and purpose. Because here's the truth. Life becomes much lighter when you stop picking up battles that aren't yours to fight. When you recognize that your emotions belong to you, not your boss, not your critics, not random strangers online, everything shifts. Confidence becomes your armor. When you build it from the inside out, no comment, no rejection, no judgment can pierce it. But when you lack that inner conviction, every word becomes a weapon that cuts deeper than it should. Why do some people explode at the smallest slight? It's not because the world is harder on them. It's because they've internalized a belief that they're not enough, and so every outside comment feels like confirmation of that fear. Think about the last time someone's words got under your skin. Did it hurt because it was true, or because a part of you feared it might be? That's the real wound. Insults only sting when they touch a place inside us we haven't healed. Call a lion weak, and it won't even flinch. Why? Because it knows what it is. It doesn't need your approval. But call someone insecure, weak, and they'll fight back, not because they are weak, but because deep down, they're not sure they're strong. That's why building confidence is the cornerstone of inner peace. When you know who you are, you stop needing others to tell you. You stop looking for approval. You stop handing your worth over to the opinions of others. And when you stop needing approval, truly stop, you become untouchable. Now, you might wonder, how do you build that kind of strength, that kind of stillness, that kind of unshakable peace? Well, it all begins with taking back control. And that's exactly where we're heading next. You take back control, truly, the moment you realize that other people's opinions don't define your reality. If someone criticizes you, let them. If someone doubts you, let them. Their words don't rewrite your truth. And here's the irony. The more you stop caring about what people think, the more they begin to respect you. Why? Because confidence, real, quiet confidence, is magnetic. Shifting perspective in the heat of the moment isn't always easy. We all know that. Emotions flare. The ego kicks in. But it's a skill worth practicing, because every time you do, you reclaim your peace. Next time something irritates you, pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? More often than not, you'll find the answer is no. And when you get into the habit of zooming out, of seeing things through a wider lens, you realize just how little most of it truly matters. That's when you become unshakable. Because in the end, it's not about controlling the world around you. It's about mastering the way you see it. Here's a truth most people overlook. If you don't take something seriously, it can't hurt you. Think about that. The things that cut the deepest are usually the ones we assign the most weight to. An insult only stings when we accept it as meaningful. But if we laugh it off, if we refuse to absorb it, it loses all its power. Humor and indifference are two of the greatest shields you can carry through life. They're not signs of weakness, but of wisdom. When you can meet nonsense with a smile or a shrug, you become emotionally untouchable. The people who suffer most in life aren't necessarily those who face the most hardship. They're often the ones who let everything get to them. They absorb negativity like a sponge, instead of letting it bounce off like rain on a well-worn coat. And the truth is, negativity will always exist. There will always be people who criticize, provoke, and drain. But the question is, are you going to let them win, or will you rise above it? When you can laugh at what was meant to hurt you, you disarm it. When you stop fueling nonsense with your attention, it starves. If someone tries to bring you down, don't fight back. Smile. Move on. That doesn't mean you allow others to trample your boundaries. It doesn't mean you ignore what's real. It simply means you stop wasting energy on what doesn't deserve it. Because here's the reality, most people who try to upset you aren't reacting to you. They're reacting from within themselves. Their own wounds, their insecurities, their need for control or attention. And when you react, you feed the very cycle they're stuck in. But when you stay calm, when you remain unmoved, you take away their power. Nothing frustrates someone more than realizing they can't get to you. And then there's indifference, the quiet superpower. If humor is the shield, indifference is the armor. When you get to a place where negativity doesn't even register, when you no longer feel the need to respond, to prove, to explain, that's real strength. Some people mistake silence for weakness, but it's not. It's control. It's clarity. It's knowing your peace of mind is worth more than being right in a temporary argument. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every battle is worth stepping into. Sometimes, walking away isn't retreat, it's wisdom, because your energy is precious. It's fuel for your dreams, your growth, your joy. Spend it wisely. So next time someone tries to rattle you, don't give them the satisfaction. Smile, shrug, walk on. And, as you do, remember, this isn't about avoiding the world, it's about mastering yourself within it. Now, what happens when your ego wants to be right more than it wants to be at peace? The need to be right, it's one of the biggest traps we fall into. It pulls us into arguments that go nowhere, drains our energy, and leaves us feeling defeated over things that won't matter a week or even a day from now. How many times have you watched two people debate something trivial, neither willing to let it go, and what's the result? Does anyone really win? Even if you win the argument, what did you gain? A tired mind, a bruised relationship, and an hour you'll never get back. That's not victory, that's ego in disguise. Letting go of the need to win every argument doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've evolved. It means you value your peace more than your pride. It means you've recognized a deeper wisdom, that not every battle is worth your attention, and not every opinion needs your correction. Some people argue simply because they enjoy conflict. Some are so set in their ways that no amount of logic will ever change their mind. Others just want to get a rise out of you. The best strategy: don't give them what they want. When you stop engaging with negativity, it loses its grip. When you no longer respond to nonsense, nonsense fades from your life. People can only argue with you if you argue back. They can only shake your peace if you open the door. But the moment you decide that your energy is sacred, that your time, your focus, your peace are not up for grabs, everything changes. It takes maturity to stay silent when your ego is screaming to speak. It takes strength to walk away when your pride wants to stay and prove a point. But what you gain in return is far more powerful than a fleeting sense of victory. You gain freedom, freedom from the noise, the drama, the chaos. You gain the clarity to choose what matters and the wisdom to let go of what doesn't. So, the next time someone tries to bait you into a debate, pause and ask, if I engage, what do I really win? Most of the time, the answer will be nothing. No peace, no growth, no joy, just wasted energy. But when you let it go, when you choose your peace over your pride, you gain something priceless: control over yourself. And when you have that, nothing and no one can truly disturb you again. We often think strength is about being louder, sharper, always having the last word. But real strength is quiet. It's still. It's the ability to walk away without resentment, to stay kind without being weak, to remain unshaken in a world that's constantly trying to provoke a reaction. So here's the truth that lasts beyond this moment. You are not here to prove yourself to anyone. You are here to live, to grow, to love, and to protect your peace like the treasure it is. Let others think what they want. Let the world do what it does. You stay grounded, stay kind, stay free. Because the moment you choose peace over pride, stillness over struggle, silence over shouting, that is the moment you become truly untouchable. And that is power.